What's going on, everyone? Kelly Cavallari here, one half of 7 Air Media, and welcome to today's edition of the Honky Tonk Highway, episode number 50. Who would have ever thought that we'd make it to 50 episodes on this crazy journey, guys? Thank you, everyone who has tuned into them and has joined me as guest, has been in the comments, helping contribute to this amazing journey we've been on since I started back on April 6th. If you haven't yet, please like, follow, share, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You never know what we're going to post or what we're going to do. Speaking of you don't know what we're going to post, if anyone caught up today, we're having a flash sale. Head over to the website. All photos, 50% off all the way through Monday in honor of Fun in the Sun that we're supposed to be at this weekend. We decided to do a little bit of a sale, 50% off all photos on our website. Also, we're just a couple weeks away, guy, from the 7 and 7 event that me and Kelly will be hosting. Make sure to join the Facebook group 7 and 7 Events. We're going to be doing 7 workshops in 7 hours with 7 awesome choreographers and instructors. All of the choreographers that will be teaching that day have qualified for the finals of the USLDCC with a shot to teach at World Dance Masters next year. So, without further ado, I figured what better way of fitting for the 50th episode than having an entire episode dedicated to none other than Crystal Boot Awards. If you hadn't paid attention to Streamline last week, they did an entire weekend based support it. We did a whole schedule release with Betty and Steve on Streamline. Right before that, they had an amazing show that we broadcasted about a week and a half ago on the Saturday night. And then they had dances taught all weekend. They were all either Crystal Boot Award winners or nominees. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, my guests today, Betty Drummond and Steve Healy. Welcome, guys.
Hi, everybody. Hi, nice to see you all. How are you, Steve?
I'm very well, thank you, Beth. Nice to see you.
Good. Okay.
And doesn't Kelly scrub up well?
He looks very smart, doesn't he?
Well, normally my Saturday night attire, for anybody who knows me, is I usually dress in my full suit to do all the work on Saturday night. Ever since I started dancing, I was always taught Saturday night was your chance to show off. So I figured I'd turn the roles on you guys. Y'all are usually the ones dressed to impress for the Crystal Boots. So I figured what better way for the 50th than to do this.
Well, it's a treat.
For those who don't know who you guys are, why don't you give us a little bit of history and how you got started in the line dance world?
Oh, crikey. You tell it. You tell it, Steve.
Oh, yes. Right. Okay. Well, we met at a little line dance class that Betty's best friend Irene started. And Irene used to spend a lot of her time in Florida, and that's where she learnt to line dance. And when she was over here in the UK, she didn't really have anywhere to go. So Betty, being a wonderful best friend, encouraged her to create her own class. And, well, why can't you teach other people to do it? And then you'll have people to dance with, which is Betty all over. She's just so encouraging with anything anybody ever wants to do. So cutting a long story short, Irene started this line dance class. Betty and I both turned up for different reasons. But
we didn't know each other.
No, we didn't know each other at all. We just met on the back row while we were being naughty and not being very good at it. So
yeah, we started off on the back row because we were naughty.
Yeah, and we just hit it off as you do when you dance. You meet wonderful people and you make friends. And then a little bit later on, about a year or so later, I think Betty started her own class. And I used to help Irene, just being a gentleman, helping her with taking her equipment in and out and things like that. And so I supported Betty by attending her classes, and our friendship just grew. And then when Betty started the magazine, she asked me if I'd come and help and do things to do with the magazine. So yeah, that's how it all started. What, 20 how many years ago, Beth?
20 plenty.
Yeah. 1996 the magazine started.
So I was teaching a year before the magazine came out, and Irene was teaching a year before that. So we're talking about 1994.
It will have been this week. This because it's Frontier Line Dancers' birthday week this week, because it's the 4th of July that the class actually started on. So it's our anniversary week this week.
Yeah. If I can just say though that on that day I went along to help Irene. I had no idea what this line dancing was all about. I had absolutely no idea what she was running.
You've done ballroom dancing though, haven't you, Beth?
Yeah, I've done ballroom dancing, but I didn't know anything about line dancing. So I just went along to give her some encouragement and to help as best I could. I danced on the back row, and so did Steve, and that's how we met. But Irene and her daughter got up to demonstrate the dances that they were going to teach. And she taught us, I think it was slapping leather, one of the first dances she taught, but the second dance she taught was flying eights. And she was dancing flying eights to Girls' Night Out. Right. And she was skipping and hopping and turning and stomping. And I thought, oh, Irene, sit down, you're making a show of yourself. But that was, they did a little demo before they taught the dance, and that was what it was. Yeah, we never looked back after that, though. We really did all get very hooked.
That's crazy. 1994. I've heard that was a great year.
Great year. Yeah.
I was a freshman in high school.
Shut up.
And I'm the old one. Kelly's 10 years younger than I am. So, but I thought it was funny because Steve, I was looking for pictures when I did the promo of you and Betty. I was looking for a picture of you together, and you either looked all dressed up to the nines and had the beard, or you were clean shaven and looked, no offense, 12. Like I was like trying to find a picture. I'm like, well, I don't want to make him look like a little kid. So it was hard. I like trying to go through and find a picture for that promo shot I did, and I was like, whew.
There have been many occasions, Kelly, where people as we've travelled together, because Betty and I have travelled to various places all over the world during our time in the line dance community, and there's been plenty of occasions where people have thought I've been Betty's son on numerous occasions.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yes, yeah. And there was one or two even thought that we were a thing, We were cute. I
haven't heard that.
My toy boy.
You were her toy. Oh man.
We laughed.
Fancy yourself, Betty Drummond.
The things you find out when you interview.
You should be yeah, but that's how it started for us in a little club in Hoylake all those years ago. Yeah, great time.
Yeah, and I still host a class there.
Oh wow!
So when Irene retired, I took the class over, and so I still teach that class there on a Tuesday night. So.
Yeah.
How funny. So now we know how you got started in line dancing. How did the crystal boots come about? How did y'all decide? How did that become about the whole story with?
Tell that story.
That's an interesting story because we decided that the magazine would be going for a while, and we were starting to get people sending us in their top tens. They didn't vote in those days, but they would send us in a chart, and we would select a few and we would publish them, and we would look at what was popular wherever they came, and we'd make a top 10 chart. And then we thought, well, it would be nice to present an award. We'll ask our readers what's their favourite dance, who's their favourite instructor, I think, and who's their favourite line dance artist. Just 3 awards. And we just put a coupon in the magazine and we just gave it to the readers. So we had, obviously, Helen O'Malley winning with Black Coffee was the first award for the magazine. Dean Brothers were the band of the year, and Rob Fowler was the instructor of the year. And we had 3 silver cups, and we presented them with the cups when we could. And this particular occasion, we had, it was in my class then, we had Max Perry and Johnny Two-Step, and they came along. And while they were there, Max Perry presented the trophy to Rob Fowler.
Okay.
So that's how it all got started. And then they were staying in the hotel that night. We'd had a social. And then we went for lunch the next day. We went to one of those little photographers. Do you remember, Steve, where we were dressed up as cowboys and Indians and had some photographs taken?
I remember that picture because it's one of Johnny's pictures that he always shows. Yep.
Yeah, well, we went for that photo session in Southport the next day, because we were all looking for front cover shots. We were always looking for nice pictures for the magazine, and there weren't many to get. So we used to take our own, and then we went for the lunch, and then we're sitting at the lunch table, and it was Max and it was Johnny who said, well, why don't you do an award show? And it had never entered my head to do an award show. And I said, oh, how would you do an award show for line dancing? How would that work? And that's how we had that conversation. Do you remember, Steve? And we shared that conversation about, oh, well, maybe you could have, a bit of a fashion show. Maybe you could have an artist on it, and, you invite people in and sell tickets. And I thought, sounds like a nice idea. We might try it.
So we do send it into an event, because I think it kind of spun off, I think, from, if you remember back before the magazine, Betty's Club in Southport used to have kind of a fun competition event, a fun competition weekend at a local holiday camp that used to happen each year, and it was purely for fun. So it wasn't a serious competition. It really was for fun. So it was just to encourage the dancers. They got together in little groups of friends, and they got dressed up in silly costumes and danced some of their favourite dances. And we got kind of some celebrities to kind of judge them. So it kind of spun off from that as well. Really, we kind of incorporated it all into an event.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, and the first Crystal Boot Awards at the Norbert Castle came the next year, and we didn't have a dance floor. We just had their stage. We had no decorations or anything, did we, Steve? And we had, I don't know how many people were there, but we had the tables and chairs in the middle of the floor. And when the meal was over, the hotel staff came in and rolled the tables back to make room for the dance floor. Everybody had to pick up their drinks and their bags and all shuffle to the side while we pulled all the tables back. No dance.
It's so unprofessional.
Well, we thought we were professional, because I remember absolutely agonising, because as we said, and your nominees are, do you remember, Steve, you were backstage with that rotary thing with the little slides in?
Right. It was back in the day before anything digital. So do you remember the old rotary slide projectors?
Yeah.
Projector. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I was so nervous, because I just knew one of the pictures was going to come upside down, and I'm thinking, I hope he's checked. Well, we didn't have a slide upside down. We might have had one jumped, but that was the technology at the time. That was the height of the technology.
Right, I remember that.
The screen was only so size anyway, and it was dull and dark, so I don't think most people could even see it properly. But that was a lovely year. It was a great year. That started off. It was only, by the way, Saturday, and they went home Sunday afternoon. Do you remember, Steve? We all went to, we had a workshop on a Sunday morning, and I think Jo Thompson did a farewell dance, and if I'm not mistaken, she did a big circular waltz.
That's right. Yeah, it was a big circular. It was a, wasn't it? Was it a progressive dance?
It wasn't. It was, but I don't think she did it as progressive at the time. It was a Scooter Lee song, "Old Friends" or something.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. And that was the farewell dance. And then I think obviously it's grown from then, and now it's almost a week long.
I'll say getting in and being able to attend the CBAs is one of the hardest, if I'm not mistaken, the hardest events on the planet I've been to. For at least from what I've been told, I have yet to be able to attend, but getting in to the waiting list is pretty long.
Yeah, it is.
What we do is we're very lucky, really, because the event is so well supported.
Right.
As event organisers, anybody out there who organises events, even if it's just a little class social, the worst thing in the world when you organise an event is not knowing if anybody's going to turn up. And however loyal your customer base is or your class are, you always still have that little worry about whether people are going to turn up. So for an event, when we're organising an event, to go from one year to the next and know we have sold out before we even finish the event, we've sold out here. That is such a blessing. Such a blessing.
Imagine.
Same time, double-edged sword, because the pressure on us that everybody expects the event to be as incredible year on year,
right,
is that's a lot of pressure on us as well. But to get in, I mean, not everybody who attends the event every year gets in for the following year, because people book online at the same time.
Right.
So we have a very fair way of doing it. So each day, if you're in attendance at the event on the Friday, the booking room will open and you can go and book to attend next year. But at the same time, people are allowed to book online. So the people who are at the event on the Friday go in first, and then the people who booked online go in after them. And Saturday we do the same process again. So what it means is we have a lovely flow each year of people who haven't been there the year before, or maybe it's their first time, and it creates this fantastic buzz, because there's an excitement there. It's not boring. It's not everybody hasn't seen it before, so it's a real family atmosphere.
Some people do manage to come back year after year.
Yeah,
some of them do.
Well, we open the booking room usually at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the Friday, and no word of a lie, people are queuing outside the room from about 9 a.m. Yeah. So they actually come with a flask and their lunch, and they sit there because they want to be first in the queue, and so
crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah. And we've tried so hard to find a bigger venue. We've looked and searched, but we can't find anything bigger. So we've learned to live with what we've got, although it's not the very best hotel in the world. And the line dancers make it the very best place in the world to be. They just make it their own and take it warts and all.
It's quite a venue though. I mean, even when we tried, because we tried it for a couple of years in Southport, didn't we, back then?
We did.
And it just wasn't the same event. It was great, but it wasn't the same event. It didn't have the same atmosphere about it. And the venue, as Betty says, it's not the highest quality hotel in the world. Anybody who's ever been will know I'm being However, it's quite unique in all the facilities are all under one roof. So you have these thousands of rooms and this incredible aircraft hangar of a space for us to dance and present and dine in, and it's all under the one roof. So once you arrive and you take your coat off, that's it. You're home for the weekend.
You don't need to go out again. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So we've had some great adventures at that hotel too.
We have indeed.
So
almost every year.
So what has been the craziest moment y'all had so far that you were worried about? I believe we touched on. I think I know what your answer is going to be, because I think you touched on some of this in the schedule release on this topic.
Crazy.
Oh, the power cuts.
There's lots of them. There are lots of them. As I said, almost every year something happens. That's just a bit mental.
And we call it the year off. And we'll say, do you remember the year of the big freeze? Or do you remember the year of the fire alarm? Or do you remember the year of the blackout? Because we nearly always we had one year, one of our first years, when we were trying to be really professional, and the theme was fire and ice. And we had a beautiful, beautiful stage set, and I was determined to have dancing waters. So I wanted fountains up and down with coloured lights. Do you remember them, Steve? Yeah. So I was determined, no problem, Betty, we can get those done for you. We'll get those done for you. So they had 2 water troughs either side of the stage, where they had these little water jets, and these fountains would spray water up, and it would be all colourful. And they were on for about 10 minutes before the splashes of the water blew all the electrics.
But what happened was that coincided with the fact that it was bearing in mind we do this in January, in Black. So you're in the UK, you're in a really exposed seaside town in the UK, so the weather is atrocious. Mm-hmm. And it was a really bad winter. It was absolutely freezing. So everybody had been complaining because it was cold, because this kind of room we do this in is it's just a great big aircraft hangar kind of thing. So it was really drafty. So people had been complaining to the staff that they were cold. So the staff had been bringing out electric heaters. So what had happened is the water from the water fountains had splashed basically fused one of the electric heaters, and that was it, all electric.
We were all in the dark fire, weren't we? But that's happened on more than one occasion. I remember, Steve, do you remember the year of what was the theme? The theme was movies. So we had a year when the theme was moving, and everybody came as movie stars for the night. And it must have been the Sunday night when we had the power cut. So fire alarm. So we go out the front and the side, and we go out the back. But so many people were in costumes, and not all of the costumes were worn.
I think the theme wasn't the theme. That was the jungle year, Bat.
No, and I'll tell you why I can remember, Steve, because you know what my eyesight's like. We had to vacate the North, and I'm in the back of the coulee, right at the very back, with lots of people, and we're having a sing-song and stomping around trying to keep warm, and we're all huddled together, weren't we? We were all huddled together till we got the going in. But I could see through the curtain into the Norbreck, and I could see a table where people were sitting. Do you remember? And I was absolutely furious. Look at his laughing his head off. I was absolutely furious. Wouldn't you think those people would get out? There's a fire alarm here. Just tell those people. And did I start to march over to them, Steve? Yeah. I can't remember. I think I was halfway across the dance floor in a right tizzy to tell these people off. And it was a group of ladies who'd come from somewhere or other as 7 brides for 7 brothers. Well, the 7 brides were real ladies, but the brothers were blow-up dolls. And they left the blow-up dolls sitting on the chairs around.
Oh, man.
The other end of the room, with my bad eyesight, I thought that the whole table was still sitting there. It was just so funny. I was so cross with myself.
And I've just realised, I now remember why I thought it was the animal one, and it was because I remember being stood outside and it being freezing cold, and so I remember being cuddled by the lion from The Wizard of Oz. That's what was making me think animals.
I was going to say that. Who was that lion?
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's good fun.
So what has been y'all's favorite moment at the award show? What's been your favorite presentation and reaction from someone getting an award?
Wow.
Several. I remember being blown away when Alan Birchall got his award. Somebody Like You, I think it was, first time round. And he was right at the far end of the room when his name was called. And he had to go, because we used to have the stage the other way around, long ways around. He had to come from the back all the way up. And he was a long walk. He was just walking on air halfway. He was just so elated. And then at the halfway mark, he just threw himself down on his knees and he put his 2 hands out. And he just looked up and he was thinking, "Oh, I've got a Crystal Boot Award." So I thought that was a magic moment. It just shows how much the awards mean to people. I also remember when Scott Lawler and his little friend, what's her name? Little dancer,
Done.
Yeah, they helped us present awards one year, so we allowed them backstage to come out with the Crystal Boot Award, and I remember her standing outside going, "Oh my God, I've held a Crystal Boot Award! I've actually held a Crystal Boot Award." She was only so big. So again, all those lovely tiny little moments that lots of people wouldn't know about, but are special. Very special.
Just a recent one that I recall is when Madison Glover won her award the other year for Rocket to the Sun, and I remember her coming backstage. Actually, I tell a lie. It wasn't Rocket to the Sun. It was her first personality award that she won when she won Female Personality. And I remember her coming backstage, and we try and grab them for pictures and a little interview.
Yeah.
And she'd been overwhelmed a little on stage, but had been very eloquent and said her thank yous and what have you. And she came backstage, and it was as if all that was all the professionalism while she was on stage. And then she came backstage, and she literally couldn't speak. She could not speak. She was just so incredibly overwhelmed.
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
I love it when they cry, though. I do like a couple of tears. I like a couple of tears.
Oh, well, then you need Simon Ward.
Well, that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. Willie Brown just asked Kelly, after hearing all these stories, you still want to come? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely on my bucket list of events that I want to go to over there that I haven't yet to make it to. For sure. Leslie Kidd just commented, she remembers when Simon Ward won Dance of the Decade and they spelt beautiful wrong on the screen behind him.
Oh, tell them not to mention that.
We've had a few screen faux pas over the years, I think.
Oh, we have. Yeah, we have. Yeah. My biggest dread ever is well, there's two, but one is someone's going to open the envelope and it'll be the wrong result. We'll be calling the wrong result.
Like the Oscars fiasco.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know how many times we check those, but you just don't know. And dreading that. But the other thing that I do dread, and has happened a couple of times, is 2 pages together, Steve.
Yeah.
And your next award is, and we've turned over 2 pages, and the back boys are going, what do we do now? You know.
It's the chaos that ensues behind the scenes when that happens is amazing. Yeah. The other one that happened a few years ago was, and I think it was myself and Joe presenting at the time, and somebody backstage was a little trigger happy, and as the result was announced, before the name was read out, it popped up on the screen.
Yeah.
Button for the screen presentation before we'd actually said the name. So that's happened a couple of times.
It has, yeah. And worse still, when you call somebody and they're not in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we were trying to get Debbie Morgan up to get the presentation for last year when the radio station won an award. We wanted Debbie to come. She's always backstage. You know.
We had a plan, and then she wasn't there.
She was in the ladies. So
Lizzie Clark was another example of that. When Lizzie was presented with her Hall of Fame, and that was I think that was one of the Southport years actually.
It was.
And somehow we hadn't. Oh, I think it was the last minute thing. She decided to take part, as Lizzie would, in one of the demos, taking part in this demo. So we call her out for her Hall of Fame, thinking she's going to come up and accept this award in a lovely ball gown, and she came running from backstage dressed up as a nun. Her Hall of Fame award.
Of course, it was hilarious.
Like does that really surprise you with Lizzie though?
No, that was the same year. Do you remember, Steve? That was the same year we persuaded Max Perry to sing a song.
You read my mind then, Bat. I was just thinking of that.
Because he's got quite a good singing voice, you know, Max. He comes out with quite a nice ballad. So we're all queued up. We're all waiting for him. He's standing off stage. He was going to go right into the middle of the dance floor to sing. He was introduced. His introduction music started. He walks on. No mic.
No mic.
He just blasé walked out. Someone running out with a microphone. Quick, go.
I need this, or they're not going to hear you.
But we've done that so often. We do all sorts of things like that. But it's part of the fun, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
So what's been your favorite theme so far that you've done?
Well, it was Star Wars for me when the stage came down like a flying saucer.
Ooh.
That was a special year, wasn't it?
That was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good theme because of the stage set. One of the things we were trying very hard to do was to actually involve the audience, because the distance between the stage and the audience was so vast.
Mm-hmm.
We never, on the stage, you never hear the reaction. You don't know whether the crowd are laughing or crying or clapping, because the sound just takes too long to travel. So we wanted to try and get it a little bit more intimate, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we said, how about we bring, the stage down, and then when we want to dance, we'll take it up again. Oh, yes. So we did it. And
it was Chitty Bang Bang when the car flies and a piece of set gets a standing ovation. If you've ever been to see Bang Bang in the thing, well, this was just like that. So as the stage came down out of the gods, which had been there all weekend, but nobody knew what it was. It just looked like a lighting rig because it had all lights underneath it. So so when we did it, we had the whole Star Wars music and things, and all smoke and lights went, and then this stage dropped down, and it took about 5 minutes to get down because it was like on a winch thing. But our crowd went absolutely mental. They thought it was amazing.
It was to the theme tune of Star Wars, though, wasn't it? So it's very dramatic.
Right.
And Tim Rusgaard had it timed to the music and the time it took to come down, so that when it touched the floor and the fireworks went out, it was perfection. It was really well done. It was a great year, a good year. That was one of my favourites. Yeah, but I think my favourite opening has got to be World Dance Masters when they did the Greatest Dancer, the Greatest Showman.
Yeah,
that was the greatest. That was the greatest opening ever. Yeah.
Leslie Kidd says she remembers when Rio won and unrolled a scroll to the floor for her acceptance speech.
Yeah, we all remember that.
We thought she was in and she wasn't. There a long time.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Heather Barton wants to know who thinks up the theme for the following years.
We do as a team. We usually have a selection of what we can and what we can't do, and what we have done and haven't done. Because we've had some great themes, beside the seaside and Christmas and big fat wedding. The magic one was good. That was a great theme. I love that. That was really good. We had some great magicians. Yeah. So the team just put their heads together, and we're quite creative once we get going and come up with great ideas and just take it from there. Try to be different every year.
It's hard.
I can imagine. And trying not to coincide with a different event that's already doing the theme. I know events in the US struggle with that, trying not to come up with a theme of very similar. I remember one year, I think we had like 4 events in an 18-month span where the theme was black and white gala. I was like,
the other thing we have to take into consideration when we're thinking about a theme is to make sure it's international, because some themes might be applicable here in the UK.
Right.
When you plan them around the world, not everybody would necessarily understand them or be able to participate in them as easily. So we have to consider the fact that at least a third of our clientele at the event are from overseas. So we have to say.
Well, most of them do travel, really, and I think we set the scene nicely with whatever the theme is. Sometimes with the opening, like the Greatest Showman, if it was the circus theme, everybody knows what the circus theme is. But I loved the year that we had 2 contrasting ones. Really, we had the opening with Pedro on his Harley Davidson, and he rode it
on Captain America.
Yeah. And I think the year after we had Dynamite Dot on a tandem.
No, that was the same year, because we had 2 pairs of posts, and Pedro had always wanted to ride in on his bike. Yeah. So that was a great opening. I can't actually remember. I think that was the wedding year. And Pedro and Charlotte came in on his Harley, and that was incredible. And then we were trying to think, well, how on earth for the second half of the show do we get Frankie Cull and Dynamite Dot in as in a comparable way? And so we're planning, and we're trying to think, well, we want to do something with them. We can't just expect them to walk on. It's not fair to have one really good and the other not. And then they're both very comical characters, Frankie and Dot. So somebody came up with a wacky idea of a tandem, and that was it. It was absolutely perfect. It was just a contrast.
Yeah, it was great.
Chris asks, how many people are on the CBA team?
About 5. about 5 of us that work in the office. So there's Steve and myself and Lindsay and Jamie, I think, are the 4 full-timers that focus on it. And then we bring in the other staff, for doing creative for us and artwork and the slides and things like that.
The business behind the awards is a publishing business primarily. So there's a lot of staff who work on newspapers, and then there's an accounts team and a distribution team and a graphics team. So all of these people have completely different jobs, nothing to do with line dancing, nothing to do with the Crystal Boot Awards. But as we get closer and closer and closer to the event, more and more and more people get seconded to do the strangest things.
Yeah, they do.
So the whole office just gets
confused. Like all the airport runs, all the distribution staff are on transport duty, to and from airports and things like that. So it's logistically it's quite a big job to organise. But after all these years now, we kind of know, and if there's going to be a difficulty or a problem, generally by now we've faced it and solved it, and we know what to do with it. So we just. Yeah, it's the experience, I think, of having done it for so long.
I'm sure.
One time we used to panic a lot, and I would hide. like the year they came and they didn't have a bed. They were from France, and they were trying to tell the receptionist that they had. She said, "Yes, I'll give you the key. You've got your room." She said, "I had no bedroom." There was actually no bed in the bedroom.
There's actually nothing in the bedroom. The bedroom. The bedroom was being decorated, so they had walked into the room and there was no furniture, absolutely nothing in the room. It was a completely bare room.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Good laughs. Good times.
But the Crystal Boot Awards team, we're a very close-knit little team. We all have very different roles in the business when we've got our day jobs running, to the roles that we have when we're actually at the event. So it all kind of gets tipped on its head a little bit, and we just become an incredible team, really, and we all have strengths and weaknesses, and we usually kind of say to each other, look, no matter what happens, we're going to get through this weekend because it's so stressful. But when you get to the end of it and it's booked out again for next year, it's the most incredible feeling that everybody's had such a great time.
Yeah.
Someone just asked, Linda asked, how many people attend the event?
It ranges. It kind of ranges from about 850, 950, depending how big we set. Because and how many people we can crowbar in.
Yeah. The hotel is okay for bedrooms, but by the time we want to sit people for a meal,
right,
and same people at the same time in the same place, that's our limitation. So sometimes we've made it too tight and it's a bit uncomfortable. Sometimes people will say there's too many people on this dance floor, and we'll drop it back down the next year, and then it gradually creeps up because the pressure on us to please can I come is intense. And we always used to rely on a number of people cancelling by the time you're asking for final payment. We rely on people saying, "Oh, can't come," or whatever. So we go, "Oh, that's okay. We've got a place."
That's okay. We got 17 people we can fit in your room now.
There are usually about 200 to 300 people on a waiting list.
That's what I've heard. I've heard the waiting list is pretty massive.
Yeah.
But by the time we get to the event, if there ever are any spaces, I would always encourage people to put their names on the waiting list. Because by the time we get to the event, often as we're going through the waiting list, people for whatever reason can't attend when we're able to offer a place. So I would always encourage, even if you're 200 or 300, we very often get to the end of the waiting list with offers to people if there are rooms available for any reason.
Yeah.
So don't ever think there are too many people. Always put your name down if you would like to attend, and then you never know.
Yeah.
So someone just asked, do you both find time to try to enjoy the weekend?
It's my secret ambition. My secret ambition, isn't it, Steve?
Betty enjoys it, I think, more than me.
No, my secret ambition is to go 1 year as a guest.
Oh yes, I'd love to do that as well, in disguise.
Yeah, as a guest.
In disguise.
I'd like to, yeah.
It's trying to get from one end of the hotel to another. So if something happens and you need something, or there's a meeting somewhere,
right?
it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. Trying to get anywhere in a hurry is a nightmare because it's like being at a family wedding. You know everybody, and everybody wants to say hello, and everybody has a question or wants to give you a hug or hasn't seen you for 12 months. And it's so difficult sometimes moving around.
Yeah. I used to be able to enjoy it more than I have lately. I used to be able to just ignore everything and just go to the workshops. And I'm sad now because I very seldom ever get to the workshops because sometimes
I consider myself lucky if I get onto the dance floor more than 3 times during the weekend. I consider myself lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and for me, it's important. I want to be on that dance floor. I want so much to be with those people. I want to be able to do the dances. You know, I don't get a chance to learn all these fantastic dances that everybody does all the time. So sometimes I'm a sit and a watcher. But if someone was doing the electric slide on the corner, I would be there. You know, because I do really love that atmosphere on that dance floor. I just love it. It's just a special place. It's great fun. Yeah. And everybody's so happy. Everybody's always cheerful, and everybody's helpful and cooperative. There's lots of nice camaraderie about the awards.
I love how global the event is as well, because we do have a really great international support for people come from all over the world.
Yeah.
Always reminds me of the fact that dance breaks down all barriers.
Yes.
When you're next to somebody, doesn't matter where they come from, who they are, what church they go to, what their father did as a profession. Nobody cares about anything. You're just dancing together and having a great time. And I just love the fact that we're in a community where dance does that. It's just a fantastic thing.
Right. So I played the video at the intro. I did on the counter. I played it without the music, the highlight reel from last year, CBA's 24th. If you want to see the actual video with the music that they put it to, it is on their YouTube channel. To make sure we did not get kicked off, I put on my my normal intro music. That way I knew we weren't going to get busted. So this year is going to be number 25.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask y'all the same question I asked Sam and Nicola and Connor. If you could change one thing about the event, what would it be? Theirs are pretty much all the same. They'd get rid of the stairs at the Winter Gardens and they would add a hotel attached to it.
Well, the Winter Gardens, because the Winter Gardens is an absolutely beautiful venue,
gorgeous venue.
Apart from the rush down the stairs when they open the doors, that's just scary. That is scary. I
know. I'm up on the glass catwalk usually with the camera. The last couple of times I've gone to get the shots, and I can see part of it just start to move that I'm standing on because so many people are coming up the staircases.
Me, what would I change? What would I change?
I don't know. Probably change the quality of the hotel. Put it up to a 4 or a 5 star, you know.
Well, it's to me that's part of the charm of the event, Beth.
Yeah, I was always troubled with the ceiling. I hated the ceiling, and I thought it spoilt the when we decorated it everywhere. Everybody else is focusing on what's around them, and I would look at the ceiling and go, oh, I hate that ceiling. But I've learned to live with that as well now. That's okay. It's all right. You know, I don't know what I'd change, really. I don't know.
Julie Dixon says silent fire alarms.
Well done, Julie. Well done. Yes, we've got a few of those there. And blackouts and blackouts, yes, and big freezes. Yeah. I'll tell you what, though. I'll tell you what most people don't know that Steve Healy's a bit of a bouncer on the quiet.
I have thrown a couple of people out on occasions, various reasons. Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah. I remember the first year you told me about it that there was somebody was he kicking off or something, Steve? I don't know, and you took him to one side.
Right. I won't. Let's just say there was a. I'll try and not name any names here. Anybody who was around will know exactly what happened, but I won't name any names. But let's just say there was a nominee whose manager decided to turn up at the event and thought, I don't know what they thought was going to happen or who they thought they were.
Yeah.
But spent all his time sat at the table during dinner, casting aspersions on the whole team, on the whole event, and bearing in mind the event, it's like a family wedding. Everybody knows everybody, and it wasn't a nice thing to do. So he was very much put in his place, this manager, by the other guests around the table, to the point where one of them decided to give him a bit of a punch on the nose in the corridor. So it broke out into a bit of a fight in the corridor. And so he'd ended up going to the toilet to sort his nose out because there was blood all over the place. And I just said to the guy who bopped him on the nose, disappear. And so I went to the manager, and this guy, we'd had so many complaints about this guy winding everybody up, the staff included, everybody up. So I just told him to sling his hook and get out. So I threw the event. I did have an almost 7 foot tall manager stood beside me to back me up.
For the most part, it's a very friendly, very easygoing event. We don't normally get any
no
or anything. Yeah, it's good. It's all good. But I was pretty impressed when he told me he'd thrown him out. I go, wow.
Oh, that's awesome. Chris wants to know, when do y'all start prepping for the following year?
Right away. Yeah.
Before we get to the event, we've already started prepping stuff for the event after.
We come back and have a post-mortem meeting. We say, what did we do well? What did we do badly? How can we improve that next year? And we build on that. So right away we start, don't we? We have a theme already because we're advertising the theme. You know, we already do a reel for that at the event. So we know what we're going to do the year after in terms of theme. And we've already, probably by the time we're showing that, we're at least halfway, if not all the way, sold out anyway. So we're always ahead of the game. Yeah.
And if you were ever in I've said this before, but if you were ever in the debrief meeting that we had, you would think that the event had been a complete disaster because we just tear it to pieces. We find all the faults. We're so critical of ourselves and of the event and everything we do.
Yeah.
And I'm always at great pains at the end of that post-mortem to remind everybody that we are actually sold out again. And we did a great job.
I do that after every show. Kelly hates it because after dinner, I'll sit there and watch the show back after every show. And I'll critique, okay, how can I change the next episode? How can I make it better? It drives her nuts. So I know what you go through.
Yeah, you have to do that if you want to make something as great as the Crystal Boots have become. You have to be that critical of your own work, otherwise it doesn't happen.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I'm like you. I'm a perfectionist. It drives Kelly nuts. Let's see. I thought I just saw another question come up. Julie Dixon says we queue for a place for the following year before the event even starts.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. Well, you know what? At all the workshops and all the cabarets and all the people meeting and being friendly together and the parades and everything else, there is that lovely coming together at the Crystal Boot Awards. And I think this year when we did the Reach Out campaign on the Friday night with Helen, we didn't know we were going to get the COVID virus to hit us this year. But I think that was an important and a very significant development in the Crystal Boot Awards because we've supported the Line Dance Foundation for a long time. But this particular year, we supported it even more with the Reach Out campaign. And it just so happened within weeks, it was so vitally needed. So I was glad that had happened the way it happened. And obviously I'm not glad about COVID, but it put us in good stead. It helped us along, and I think that ability for people to say it's okay not to be okay, and to reach out right throughout this whole episode that we've undergone has been great. And I still think that the Crystal Boot Awards, at the end of the day, is something for us all to look forward to being the event that brings us all back together again in safety and in happiness. And I've got my fingers really tightly crossed for that.
Yeah. So Georgina wants to know real quick, how do you choose your CBA award outfits?
But Betty's normally like a film star and has about 3 on the go.
I find it very hard, really hard. I don't like low necks. I don't like sleeveless. I don't like backless. I don't like figure hugging. So give me a sparkly sack, and I'm fine. Yeah, different colour sack.
So as we get here close to 6, I want to thank you guys for coming on and talking about the CBAs. It was a great time.
Okay.
Appreciate you joining me for this 50th episode.
Congratulations on your episode. They've been really well received, and you've done an absolutely fantastic job. So thank you for the time and effort you've put in, Kelly.
Before you go, I just noticed that Joe's joined us, and there is a little story about the Crystal Boot Awards that I want to just relate very quickly.
Go ahead.
In the early days, we used to sell scripts because they weren't digital. Yeah, we used to sell scripts, and my best friend Irene was in charge of the script booth. So we would go up, and the customers would pay 10p for a script. They would buy the script from the workshop, and Irene was being very, very helpful. And she came to me and she said, "I've done all these scripts." She said, "But one lady was not too happy." I said, "Oh dear, why?" So she said she wanted a script for Joe Thompson, and she wasn't married then, it was just Joe Thompson. And she asked for a script, and Irene said, "10p, please." And Joe apparently said, "Do you know who I am?" And Irene said, "No, I have no idea, 10p, please." So I said, "Oh, Irene, you didn't. What did she do?" She said, "She gave me 10p. That's so typical of Joe. I was walking through the hall with her one day, and a lady came. We were in a hurry. We were going for something. A lady stopped us to ask Joe a question. And Joe turned to this lady with undivided attention, as if she had all the time in the world, put her handbag down, helped her with the routine, picked her handbag up and carried on walking. I thought, wow, how magnificent was that? So the customer walked away feeling that she was a really very important person because Joe had stopped to help her. So thanks, Joe. She's great to have on board.
Debbie Morgan just commented, "Betty Drummond, don't forget."
Well, I have an announcement to make, don't I? Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Delighted, absolutely delighted to say that the Line Dancer radio team is being enhanced significantly. We have a new DJ joining us, and it's none other than yourself. And we are so thrilled to welcome you. So, ladies and gentlemen, our latest recruit to Line Dancer Radio is none other than Kelly himself. So I'm really looking forward to your shows, and thank you so much for joining us. Because as everybody knows,
thank you so much. Yeah, I'm super excited about this. Dave messaged me this morning and said, "Oh, by the way, we're announcing it on your Betty's going to announce it on your show." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Make it public. I'm like,
Stop, Kelly.
Thank you. I'm very happy. So, guys, yes, the Honky Tonk Highway is going to Line Dancer Radio starting next Tuesday. This is kind of why I've been doing the show out here. I've been redoing the office to fit a mixer and everything. So I'm adding a nice. I think Kelly wants to kill me because I'm really new place, and now I get really constructing the office already. So that's why I've been doing the show out here on the setup. So starting next Tuesday, 2 p.m. UK time, which is 9 o'clock here in the States. We'll be doing the Honky Tonk Highway. 2 hours. You get me for 2 hours on the radio, and I will be playing music. So once events start, we're going to be doing, since I'm at a lot of the U.S. events, we're going to do a bunch of recaps on what happens in the U.S., top dance events. But to start off, what we're going to do, some look back on some events that happened at the beginning of the year, and pretty much some stuff I do here on the Honky Tonk, highlight instructors, highlight choreographers, and different events. So
that's going to
totally looking forward to the craziness that's about to ensure.
So it will enhance the team a great deal. And I'm so pleased that you've agreed to do that for us. It's going to be good fun. Thank you.
Yes, Big Jim. I'll be awake at 9 a.m. U.S. time. Just because I stay up late doesn't mean nothing. So, but thank you guys so much for joining me.
Pleasure.
Tomorrow, guys, Betty talked about him a little bit earlier in the interview. My guest tomorrow is none other than Johnny Two-Step. If you have never met this man, you are going to want to tune in tomorrow because let me tell you, possibly the biggest jokester I've ever met in the line dance world. This guy, you're going to have a hoot of an hour talking about. I love it when him and Leslie come over for Myrtle Beach and for the marathon. And I got to spend a whole weekend in Southport for his event last year, right before the World Dance Masters. We went to Southport and spent 3 days with him and Leslie for the event and had a grand old time. And I love it. I've watched his grandkids grow up. So you're going to be in for a treat tomorrow. I tell you what, Johnny Two-Step is going to entertain for an hour.
He's definitely got some stories he could tell you.
That's what I'm kind of afraid.
Ask him about falling off the stage at the Crystal Boot Awards.
I will definitely ask him about falling off the stage.
Sit down.
So I always tell how I met Johnny was at the marathon when I was dancing on Guyton Mundy's dance team. And he came out and do one of his solos, and in the middle of it, he literally rips his shirt open and rubs it in Scott Blevins' face as Scott was judging him. That's how I met Johnny Two-Step.
He's a hoot.
But thank you guys so much for joining me. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for getting to 50 episodes, everybody. I look forward to getting at least another 50 more. I'm to be in person to person. I plan on doing them on the road. So tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, 5 o'clock, guys.
Okay, we'll join you. We'll be there.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.